Hello everyone, I'm Susanda Njinga and welcome to On the Couch. So today I'll be talking to Saray Khumalo. Saray is an explorer and a mountaineer, and she's also the first Black African woman to summit Everest. She's also climbed 5 other mountains, including Kilimanjaro, and I think she's the perfect person to chat to about resilience and patience and just how to deal with uncertain times, just like, the time that we find ourselves in the times of Corona and COVID-19. Saray, how are you?
I'm amazing, and thank you for having me. It is indeed difficult times, but it's doable.
It's such an honor. It's so great to see you. It's been a minute, but I can see that you're doing really well. I have been stalking you a little bit on Instagram, and I've been doing some of the things that you've been doing. Not necessarily as good as you're doing them, but I've been trying. But for all of those who have probably been living under a rock and don't know who Saray Khumalo is, can you just give us a brief background on who you are and how you got onto the path of mountaineering?
So I'm Sarah, and yes, I'm the first Black African female to summit Everest. And since we last spoke, I've also been the first to do the South Pole. I skied to the South Pole in December. Yeah, so that was amazing. Interesting, and a lockdown of its own kind, very different to Everest. I started on this journey when I started asking myself the question, why? Why am I here? What do I want to leave behind? What is important for me? And it's not something that I woke up to say, oh, this is it. It just was a journey. I tried this. And when I did Kilimanjaro in 2012 and raised money for a home in Benoni with 4 other people, it was a shift. They're calling it a pivot, people. This is where I picked up that I absolutely loved the climbing, but more so because I was able to use it to actually make a difference in other people's lives, especially education, which is a passion of mine, which I believe strongly is the equalizer. I look at everyone acknowledging the fact that the world has become a global village. If you look at how under lockdown we have Zoom calls, webinars, and so forth with people from around the world, and how are we going to make sure that the next generation of Africans are able to live in this global village, not as second-class citizens, on par with everybody else around the world? I think education is one of the ways that we can do that. And that's where my passion really started. I decided I'm going to do this, and I'm going to raise money and make a difference. And hence we are here. Been the first on Everest, South Pole, and I've also built 4 libraries. We were meant to build another one through the Mandela Libraries. Unfortunately, the lockdown has stopped that, and we'll do it thereafter. And and it's been just a blessing and a journey since then with my initiative, which is called Summits with a Purpose. It's just saying to people that we are extraordinary. We are stronger than we believe. And who said life is going to be easy? And it's not going to be fun if every day we wake up and what we planned is what happens. Life is an adventure. Let's just enjoy it. Let's recognize the challenges that are coming through and know that they are not stronger than we are. We are stronger. And this is exactly what's happening with the lockdown. How can we make sure we keep strong? We show up extraordinarily as we are, and be on the summit on the other side.
You're incredible. Like just that for me already. I'm like, okay, I'm okay. I'll be okay through this lockdown. Like I'll be fine. It's not as hard as it seems. Just listening to you telling me all of that, but you mentioned now that you actually were in the South Pole. Can you tell me more about that?
So it's part of the Grand Slam, Explorer Grand Slam. So after
What
Everest,
is the Grand Slam? What is
yeah,
it?
the Explorer Grand Slam is a challenge that only 67 people in the world have done. So it's summiting all the highest peaks on the 7 continents around the world and skiing to the North Pole and the South Pole. It's called the last degree. So I've done 4 of the 7 summits and 1 pole. So it's 5 of the 9 points. And of the 67 that have done it, 5 are South African, none of them female. So there's no African female, white or black, that has done the South Pole or the Grand Slam itself, which is exciting. And I feel that in this modern age, we can't have stuff that people like us have never done, like really
Right.
done, like let's go there and represent, so that our children, the next generation, are not looking for obstacles. They're just seeing opportunities because we've opened them. They're seeing Everest and thinking it's been done by one of us. Let's see if we can do it faster. Let's see if we can go further. I think that is the gift that we as a generation can actually leave to the next generation. So what was different with the South Pole? You know how when you climb, I don't know if you hike, Everest
I do sometimes. I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I've climbed Table Mountain.
Amazing.
It was incredible. It was wonderful. And I thought going up the mountain was going to be harder than coming down. But the weird thing was coming down for me, I was like, I'd rather go up again. So yeah, I'm no expert. But after Table Mountain, I was like, I've done it. It's great. I'm not doing it again. It was wonderful. But yeah.
Yeah, so you know how when you go up or you are coming down, you almost give yourself something to aim towards. Let me just do the next few steps and get to that tree, get to that rock, and you get a sense of achievement. With the South Pole, where you're going and where you're coming from all looks white, all looks the same, and there is nothing you are aiming for. It's just, and the sun wasn't setting. 24 hours the sun was there. I remember thinking about my grandmother saying, when Jesus comes, there will be no night there. And I'm thinking the first 2 days exciting. On the third day, you're like, damn, where's the moon? The sun, it has to be dark.
But then, and how do you keep going then? Like on that third day when you're just like, you know what, actually, I have had enough sun. It's just too white. It is bright. I can't do this anymore. Where do you go? Like, how do you keep yourself going? What is it that you tell yourself that keeps you motivated to keep going when you get to that point of, you know what, actually, no.
I think for me, it's the why. Why are you doing it? And those steps that you are making, despite the fact that you can't see the progress as you know it. That's what we're saying, the new normal. The new normal doesn't mean we are stagnant. It will only be stagnant if I spend the whole day sleeping and I'm not doing anything. I've done a few courses online. I've read a few books. I've done a few chapters in my book. So that's progress. The fact that I knew that I was stepping every day and I was following my compass, there was progress. I needed to tell myself that, despite the fact that I just sleeping was because my eyelids are like heavy and it's like 1 o'clock at night because what I was used to wasn't there. It's what situation am I in and how can I use what I have to move forward? And am I making progress? You wanted to say something?
No, and how are you? I'm thinking about you're telling me about how you were focusing on like in the North Pole and the South Pole and how you kept going. How do you use the same tools? How can somebody maybe use the same tools that you were using while mountaineering during times like lockdown? Like, how do we get through the same? Because I feel like it's the same kind of difficulty in the sense that it's mental. I think the most difficult part about being in lockdown is the mental aspect of it. So what are the things that you think people can use that you've used while summiting mountains?
So a few tools is actually taking care of what I can control. And accepting what I can't control. So if you look at whether it's Everest at base camp and I'm waiting for the summit window, because if I go and the weather is not great, I'm not going to make it. So what can I do while I wait? I make sure that I'm hydrated, I'm exercising, and I also make sure that I'm able to stay mentally alert. I don't get sick, so I make sure that I am healthy and fit enough to handle the summit when the window opens. That's exactly what's happening with us. It's pointless when the summit opens, you're weaker than when you started. You need to be strong because then the work starts. So I'm sitting here in lockdown, especially the first 35 days. I said to myself, my expeditions have been cancelled. I was meant to go to the North Pole in April. They've been moved. The reality is they have not shut down my dream. They've postponed it. And I just need to be ready for when the dream it needs to materialize, to be ready for it. And what can I do to prepare? I was running around my house.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. How are you still preparing for to do the Grand Slam if you are now stuck at the house and you can't necessarily be working out and exercising the way that you were when you were preparing for all your other summits? So how are you still ensuring that you know your goal, you're still focusing on your goal and ensuring that you are preparing for that goal while in lockdown?
Yeah. So the first thing is the goal has been moved. So it's given me more time to prepare. That's how I'm looking at it. I still train. I do Zoom calls with my personal trainer or my biokineticist twice a week. I was running around the house, joined the Mzansi Marathon. And now I have between 6 to 9 when I can run. And I'm able to, I do soccer with my kids because my son plays soccer and now he can't play with his teammate. I'm like, I'm the goalkeeper.
I saw you were Coach Sarah. I was like, what is going on? I didn't know you could play soccer. I was like, what?
No, I'm terrible. Don't worry.
No, you were not terrible. I was watching you. I was like, okay, she's definitely Coach Sarah. I'm not calling you Sarah anymore. You are Coach Sarah. I was watching you playing soccer on Instagram and yeah, you are a coach.
I think the point is to just use the tools that you have, especially what you can control. The problem is when you start crying and complaining about what you can't control, you're not going to have the energy for what you can actually control. So I do that. And I look forward to when the world opens up, when my attempts are able to happen, and I'm going to go for that. And everything else becomes immaterial. And also, what is exciting is the fact that what I do can contribute to flattening the curve, can contribute to what's happening around me, around the world, around my community. And that is exciting. So as long as you are not completely helpless, there's something you can do that, because it makes you stronger than you were yesterday. And that keeps me sane, whether it's on the mountain or out here.
And what would you say has been like the one thing that you've appreciated the most during lockdown that you weren't necessarily taking for granted before, but now that you are at home and you've got all this time to reflect and you've got all this time, what is the one thing that you're just like, I am really, really enjoying this part of my life? What are you appreciating more now?
My boys, my sons, I discovered they can cook, both of them. The older one more than the younger one. Don't say I tell them, I told you that. But so they can cook, and they cook so well, which is amazing. Time spent with them, I think I actually realized how little time we're actually spending together. You come from work, you leave for work early in the morning, you think, oh, I saw them, weekends you're going to train. I think there's a lot that I've missed out that I'm really capitalizing on, and seeing how much of young men they're actually becoming, and really every now and again patting myself on the shoulder to say, you haven't done too badly, mommy. That I'm really appreciating.
Oh man, I understand. I think the only thing that's also keeping me sane during this time is my 6-year-old. She has this energy and this constant joy that every time I feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I just need to get out the house, she'll say or do something that makes me think, it's okay, it's fine. So I understand how you feel with the children. Like, I think the children are actually keeping us sane more than anything else. Is there anything that you guys are doing like religiously? Do you guys have like a certain schedule that you're sticking to? Do you have a routine that you're waking up to every single day? Is there something that you guys are doing religiously through this time?
Yes. So we pray in the evening together, and we also do like service on Saturday every day. Not every day, every Saturday together. But we have board games, not all the time, but like we're playing a lot of that. And I think that's where, more than the soccer that you saw, I think I'm thriving on Monopoly. Yeah, I'm keeping the money and showing them who's boss.
Uh, um, and what would you say you are? You said earlier that you are reading a lot of books. What content are you leaning towards? Because what I've found during lockdown is that sometimes if you are finding yourself in the wrong space, it can also kind of negatively affect your thinking and where you are mentally. So what are the things that you're leaning towards that you're consuming at the moment? Whether it's on social media, whether it's books, whether it's online, what are the things that are keeping you going?
I think positive stuff. There is a Facebook group that was started. It's called Rise Up, which is it's full of motivational people. There's Tony. There's a lot of people that are coming there and really saying it's winter, but winter passes and summer is coming. Look forward to summer. What do you do during winter when it's about to end? You prepare for a summer body, and it's people that are looking beyond the doom and gloom. They motivate me, and I pray that I'm able to do that for the next person. Because believe you me, if we look for what is going wrong, we all are going to find it, and we all are going to be stuck and be worse off than before the lockdown and before COVID. And COVID wins. So I'm really sticking to positive people that are really encouraging me to say it's okay that today is not all right, but tomorrow is great. Look forward to that. And allowing me to be vulnerable when I need to, and reminding me that I need to keep stepping if I need to step on the summit. And that I need. I think it's very similar to having a coach or a mentor that you can bounce off stuff through. When you wait so long for the summit window, sometimes you get discouraged to say, wow, is it really coming? And you want somebody that's there, your teammate, to remind you to say, it is. And tomorrow, maybe you'll be that reminder for them. So it's really checking on friends that are maybe staying on their own and checking how they're doing. You find someone is low, maybe you bump into a call for someone that lifts you up on that day because something amazing happened to them. And that's what's happening with me, at least.
And in the same breath, like, what would you say you as I don't think there's anything that you actually struggle with. I don't, because to me you're like a superhero. You're like you are a superhero. But what would you say you struggled with during lockdown, and how have you tackled that? Because I think we've all, as I said earlier, we're all starting to get to know ourselves better. We are starting to see things and find things out about ourselves. The more we are in this space and the more we're spending time with ourselves, the more we're starting to see our weaknesses, our strengths. What would you say the one thing that you struggled with during lockdown is, and how have you maneuvered around it, and how are you tackling it?
Yeah, I think one thing that I just want to share is when the 6 to 9 jogging thing or jogging or walking started. I remember the first day that I ran up, I found at the robots very close to my house a man selling masks, and he was wearing one. And I remember thinking, does he realize that it's level 4? And then immediately I thought to myself, he's wearing a mask, he's selling the mask. He obviously knows that it's a problem, but maybe he has no choice, And I thought, maybe I'm judging him from my privilege, like he's there maybe because that's the only way he's going to take food to his kids. And maybe his contribution to flattening the curve is the masks that he's wearing, are the masks that he's selling. Because he can't stay at home and do Zoom calls to earn a living. He's there, but recognizing what's happening, he's wearing a mask. Then I ran across and I came to the main road, and I found, I think, 3 or 4 other men. These guys that sell garden chairs and patches of lawn. And they were setting up because it was quite early. And I just thought to myself, they could be my brother, my sister, my uncle, or somebody. And they're there, they've left their homes. And it's the same thing as the other guy. Maybe I need to be sensitive on how I look at other people and how they are contributing to flattening the curve, and not just judge them. I wondered whether it's my privilege that automatically starts judging other people, and I need to keep that in check. So that was a humbling moment. It actually bothered me for a week. And I just reconciled with myself to say, if they were careless and not cognizant of what's happening around the world, they all would not have been wearing masks, but they were. So I think we need to just watch out for each other and see how each individual within the environment can contribute to flattening the curve.
And how do you think, I think, I think we've all struggled with that a little bit, just trying to, I think in my own little bubble and in my little privilege as well, I've also sat and been like, oh my gosh, people should stop complaining, people should, and yet at the same time, I wasn't thinking about how this could be affecting other people because it was affecting me in a certain way. So what are the little things that you're doing to help other people that you think are in need? I think for me, for example, I realized that there are a lot of young entrepreneurs out there who are doing different things. So small things like buying vegetables from a young entrepreneur who's got his small business, as opposed to going to the supermarket and finding meat suppliers who are now bringing meat to my house. So what are those? Are there any things that you are doing to try and assist, whether it's family, whether it's people in general? What are some of the things that you have found yourself doing to help other people during this time?
So there is an initiative where when you go to the shops and buy stuff, you can also buy and leave in a box at the shops for people that may need the food. So I'm doing that. I'm also working with other NGOs to try and help with the collection of foods and stuff like that. But the one thing that I was doing from the beginning is recognizing that I'm locked here with my kids. I've got friends that are alone. It's just that phone call. Maybe that's, I know I called somebody, and just before I said bye, this is an old man, he cried and says, "You don't know how I appreciate the call." I think sometimes it's not about the money, it's just showing people that we are here, because meeting them in the corridors or on the street every day was maybe their high, was the one time that they were interacting, or maybe at work. Now they're not at work, they're in their home. Are you checking on them? Just saying, how are you? And I think that for me is important.
And I see that on Instagram, you're very busy on social media. Like, you're so busy. And it's wonderful because I was actually watching some of the videos, and I was really, really inspired by some of the messages that you've left and some of the teachings that you've been sharing. What was the drive behind that? How did that come about?
I think at the beginning of the lockdowns, there was a bit of denial, like my expeditions have been cancelled, and moan about it. Then I realized that it was very similar to base camp and the weather window that I explained to you. And it just dawned on me how people that are not used to this are going to struggle. So I thought, why not? I started sharing my my exercises. It was for other people as much as for me, because every time I put them up there, I needed to do them, So I said, for 21 days, I'm going to put up my training schedule and I'm going to share. And I did exactly that. And I started receiving feedback. Some would say, oh, I saw it. It just reminded that we are on day 5, but I didn't do them. I did half of them. But it just said, I'm there, you're there, and I see you, and help me move through this day and get to the other side, and I'm going to help you. And that really is what started it, the conversation to say, let's talk. We are humans after all. We may not see each other, but we're here. And it's really Ubuntu. We're looking after each other in a way.
And what would you say? Like, I think a lot of people that I've spoken to, around, especially you mentioned people that live by themselves, a lot of them have kind of found themselves in either being very anxious during this time, or kind of slipping into a depression, because you don't know what's coming, you don't know what's on the other side of lockdown, and you can only really do so much during this time. What pointers and tips do you have for somebody who might be feeling like, you know what, actually, I cannot take one more day. I can't do this anymore. I can't be stuck in this house trying to figure out what's coming next. What what words of encouragement do you have for those people? Or what are some of the things that they could do to get out of that negative mental thinking?
I think the one thing which is the basis is that the sun is going to shine. We are going to get to the summit. So our one job, my one job, is to make sure that I'm fit for the summit, you know. And how I do that is I have a plan in the morning. This is what I'm exactly the same way I have to-do lists, you know, like this is what I'm doing during this time. And even if today it's 5 things, tomorrow is 3 things, when I go back to what I've done the previous days and I see that I've crossed a line on what I've done for the previous day, it excites me. It gives me the sense that there has been progress. The reality, if I think about small businesses as an example, the plan is to survive, you know, survive so that tomorrow when opportunities open up, you are ready. You know, and how are you going to survive? It's by tackling one thing at a time. Don't be overwhelmed that customers are not running around to your business. Find a way to get to them. You know, do you need to go online? You know, maybe do that. But just make sure you survive, because if you don't survive, when the sun shines, when we get to the summit, there won't be any business to move forward with. So I think for me, it's what can I tackle? And how can I keep myself accountable, positive, because I know the sun will rise.
That's awesome. And when the sun does eventually rise, like you are so motivated, Nje. You are so motivated. You can see the summit. Like, and for me, it's making me sit here and think how much I've actually been moaning and complaining about the situation I find myself in. But for you, what is the one thing, like when the sun finally comes out and we are told, you know what, we are now at level 1, everything is back to normal, we are fine, you can go back to how things used to be. What's the one thing that you want to do? What do you think the first thing that you're going to do is?
I think a longer run will be great. And also, but never mind the run. I really want to go hiking. Like, that's the one thing, because none of the hiking places are 5-kilometer radius from my house. Like, really, I don't think the house was strategically positioned. But the point is, I think the one thing is confirming all my expeditions. Remember, we postponed them. We don't know to when.
So tell me, what is next? What's coming next? What still needs to happen? I know that you said you've done 4.
Yes.
And we're aiming for 7, right?
Yeah. So I still need to do North Pole, which is going to be the last pole. And that happens in April. So I'm hoping we're open by April. I still need to do Carsten's Pyramid, Mount Vincent, and Denali. So those are the ones that are still outstanding. Denali is going to be next year in June, depending on whether we will be open by then. Carsten's, Carsten's, I can do it October. I can do it almost any time, so that will depend on when we open, and then I need to plan for that.
Like, what keeps you going? Because, like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, for people that don't know, that you tried to summit Everest thrice before, right? Thrice before you finally managed. And when I read up on all the different things that happened, that that made you not complete the first 3 times, I don't think as like just Sisanda I would have been able to get up again and try. I think it was the 3rd time when you were almost there, and you didn't not summit because of you. It was because of the weather, and you had to turn back down. How? Like, how? How do you go back?
I remember when we started, I said it's the why. Why are you doing it? If why you're doing it becomes bigger than you, it becomes a no-brainer. And for me, there's one thing, I call it failing forward. I don't allow anybody to tell me that an experience that I've gone through was a failure. It's only a failure when I fail to learn something from the experience. If I learn something from the experience, it's a success. Because 2019, when I summited, was not done in isolation of the 3 times that I attempted. It's the learnings from those 3 times that made 2019 a possibility that it was, a history-making moment, because I took the learnings from all the other expeditions and used them in 2019. It's the same as this, What
are your learnings? What are your learnings from lockdown? Because you're talking to me about post-lockdown and you're going to do this, but what would you say you're learning right now during this time?
I think for me is I can do much with so little. I can train for the mountain even if it's in my yard because I have the commitment. I believe that I'm stronger than I thought. I mean, if you asked me before this, I would say, oh, how am I going to keep fit just here? But I've found a way to make it happen. We are having board meetings in our own rooms, making decisions. We are able to help other people within the confines of our home. That is amazing. Did you ever think we could do that? No, but we can. And there's other stuff that we haven't thought about that we can do. I think as long as you do not declare yourself helpless, there is something that you can do. And that is a step closer to the summit. Just keep taking it.
And what do you think you're going to do differently after lockdown that you weren't doing before lockdown? And now there has been some sort of revelation during lockdown that you're like, actually, even after lockdown, I think this is something that I want to continue doing in this way.
Yeah. So the first thing is training with my biokineticist. I think Zoom training is number 1. I drive normally like 45 minutes to her, and I go and train in 45 minutes back. That's a waste of time. Now I think we Zoom call, we train, and I get going. I think that might become the new normal, and it's going to stay. I think it's also consideration in terms of putting yourself in other people's shoes. It's something that I did previously. I think more and more we should do it, especially when the world opens up, because a lot of people have lost jobs, have gone through stuff because whether it's mental, anxiety, fear of the unknown. I think when it was 21 days, it was quite romantic. 35, we lost a few. Now we don't know, we are losing more. So it's just being sensitive about other people and their circumstances. And we keep saying social distancing, isolating yourself in your home. Have we sat down and thought about that home that's just one room and the whole family is there? How are they social distancing? How is it practical for them? And have we thought about that? And have we come up with are we empathetic to what's happening, and are we thinking about how we can help them more than just they should know what to do and they should get on with it? I think it's really, I guess it's Ubuntu, bottom line. That explains it. We just need to go back to who we are and know that we are, at best of times, our brother's keepers.
Sarah, my heart is so warm. It's all fuzzy now. Thank you. Thank you so much for always just being a well of wisdom, a well of inspiration, and just this person that we can look up to and realize that, there are things to be done and we need to do them. I appreciate you. I look up to you, and I am so, so grateful for you. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much for all the learnings. I think I've taken in so much just from everything that you said. So thank you for that. And I hope you keep well and you and the boys have loads of fun. Keep being coach. You're doing a great job at being coach.
Thank you. I think when my son scores, he feels great. I hope he can still keep up the standard when the world opens up. Thank you for the opportunity, and I hope you keep stepping, and God bless always. Thank you.